few minutes. So, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, wherever you are listening. Join with me this evening, Mr. Jamie Page.
How you doing?
Chris currently is living in like 1842 or something. He's got a power cut where he lives, which I think has been. Am I right in saying, Jamie, that the power's been out for like a week where he is?
Yeah, and it's going to be little bit longer as well, by all accounts.
My life, I'll be pulling my hair out. I'd absolutely be going
Yeah.
mental. But yeah, so Chris won't be joining us this evening, so we'll let you decide whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you want to let us know whether it's good or bad, then that's fine. We're actually not really that interested, but because we like Chris. But in his stead this evening, we have with us Master Carver, Master Viking, Master Andy Heel. How are you, Andy?
Mister, actually, but yeah, cool. I'll have that.
But you are a child at heart.
Yeah, okay.
And actually, anyone that's ever met you in person that knows you will know that as well. So you're really only fooling the people that have never met you. How are you getting on, Andy?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thank you very much. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I'm a little bit exhausted, as most people know, working long hours, but doing the podcast anyway this evening. We're hoping to have Mr. Bobby Duke join us presently. We're not quite sure if he's got internet things. Maybe like the whole of America has lost their internet over the last
Who knows? Who knows?
few weeks. So we're hoping it'll be here. If he's not, when we will be a little bit disheartened, but it won't be too bad because obviously Andy is here. So Andy, you can easily step up and fill.
Thanks for that, mate.
just kind of build him up massively. You've got to fill your boots and Bobby Duke's as well.
Big, so. My boots, mate. So it's all good.
No problem at all.
Bobby can drive fine.
Excellent. Well, as always, this evening's podcast is brought to you in part by Yorkshire Grit, the Woodturners Abrasive Paste, our good friend Chad at Mancrafting, Pam over at Highland Boxes, giving away those fantastic hybrid blanks, and also Steve Harneal, sorry Jamie, who is kind of the silent partner. He sorts out all the website and allows us to basically be on the interweb. Again, we'll let you decide whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you want to find out more about our sponsors, and genuinely I recommend you do because they are all four of them awesome people, head on over to the website makesinternationalpodcast.com/sponsors. All the information's up there, and you can find out more about supporting the people that support us to basically gob off for an hour or so every week. So yeah, that's good. Jamie, how are we going to run tonight? We're completely off the grid here, off the script.
It's normally Chris's corner at this point, but Chris is on the naughty step, as it seems, sitting with his candle. So I guess there's going to be two of Jamie's Page.
No, we don't want any of those.
We're going to start off with a question from Damo, because he asked his question tomorrow. Because he's down under, and since this show's all about carving today, the first question from Damo is, what is your favorite timber material to carve?
Obviously that's a question for Andy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I quite like the chestnut I'm working on at the moment. Probably because it's free.
Yeah. So anything free, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, everyone loves free stuff. I'm not going to dispute that at all. I know you work a lot, just like Jamie does actually. You work quite a lot with the GPS plastics.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's,
GPS.
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 So that's, I think, if I'm, and correct me if I'm wrong, sort of polyester resins and various kind of how do you find that material to carve with? I mean, personally, turning resin, I'm not his biggest fan because it's quite smelly, and those ribbons, they just get everywhere. They stick to everything,
Yeah.
and it's just a frustration. But
It's
genuinely,
like the static of it.
yeah. How do you find that kind of thing compared to say wood or something else?
They're very similar. It's a case of learning your material, isn't it? See, now my answer to your question about how do I find carving GPS would be it's easy. Because I've been doing it a while now. I know what to expect from the material. I know polyester resin, depending on how fast you're going with the cutter, depends what cutter you're using, you can have massive chip out.
Mm-hmm.
With the GPS, there can be micro fractures that you can't even see. I mean,
Okay.
slight weaknesses, possibly. If it's been dropped, the blank's been dropped. There might be. It's like it's a lump of plastic at the end of the day. There's going to be some sort of a crack in there at some point.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So, trying to avoid that, it's hit and miss. Sometimes I was carving a skull live, crow skull on one of my lives. Got to almost to the end of the skull. I was just carving into the eye socket, caught it on what must have been a microfracture. The eye socket disappeared. It became a crater in the side of his head.
Oh no! I mean, how do you recover from something like that? Do you just make the other one the same size, or do you just throw it in the corner, cry, all of those, or?
No, it's still up there somewhere. It goes on my wall of shame.
So that's it. Project stopped. Move on to something else, and
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I could have saved it, but personally, when I've put that much effort into something, and then you're literally, I was literally on the last 5 minutes of carving this thing. For that to happen, it was a lesson to be learnt. So, to me, it needed to be kept to remind me of the mistake that I made. So hopefully I don't make that same mistake again. It's not on show. I'm not going to say they're all hanging up around my workshop, all my fails, because that'd be quite depressing. But
I think it'd be quite worrying if you've got like lots of carved skull-esque things hanging from your workshop. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Anyone try to break your workshop, they'd soon turn around and walk around the other way, wouldn't they? You know what I mean?
But I guess also that's kind of a part of the documentation of it all, though, isn't it, as well?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I know that mistake. I can move on to the next one. Hopefully, won't make the same mistake again. It's inevitable that it will happen again at some point. I'll forget what I'm doing. I'll get carried away. I'll be listening to the music rather than what I'm carving. Bang. It's one of those things you just need to accept it.
So there's a question out in the chat from Richard the Beard times 16. So question for Andy: do you have a favourite Dremel bit?
What's going on here?
And you've gone sideways, mate.
Oh, go back.
I think was that not Jamie? So anyone that's listening to this after the event, well, the edited audio only version, Jamie's found this really cool thing where you can put the actual question up as like a ticker tape at the bottom of the screen, and that came up. It looked awesome. I was really impressed, and now Jamie has made Andy disappear.
It seems like Andy disappeared.
Jamie, have you ever heard the phrase "if it isn't broke,
don't touch it"? I think I'll do that.
What's this button do?
So let's see if there's any questions out there that maybe you can answer, Richard. Actually, Richard, have you ever done any carving?
Have I done any carving? Not really. No. I mean,
Sorry.
Not the sort of carving that Andy does. Andy's back. Hey, Andy.
Sorry.
Calm down.
Sorry.
Calm down. Sorry, we're blaming. That was Jamie's fault. It's fine.
That was my fault, apparently.
Leave my phone alone. I'll move it there, and then that's it. I'm not going to touch it.
Don't touch the phone. Not the sort of carving that that Andy does with like the Dremels and the tiny little sort of dentist drill type stuff. The only carving I've ever done would be more sort of traditional carving, but that was
The
only
gouges.
yeah. I mean, it was even then it wasn't really anything special. I've got like 6 little tiny carving chisels, like a little set of 6, and the chisel with the handle was only about 7 inches long. They're not like big chisels,
Mm.
and it was just numbers. For a clock face that someone asked me to do, and I thought, yeah, I'll give that a go. So nothing really more special than a Boy Scout with a pocket knife in a wood somewhere, to be honest. But
Yeah.
Well, the question was my favourite bits for Dremel, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yes,
sorry, we
yeah,
got
for
distracted.
Richard, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. That's
That
like,
looks like it's like the wheel off a Lego car.
it's a burr. So, oh come on, focus. No.
All right.
Is,
Okay.
is that it looks like a carbide kind of
Yeah,
rasp
like
type burr.
yeah, it's like a cut. I've got the like triangle version as well.
Like a proper little Christmas tree type shape.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And I'd have to say those ones make light work of everything. They really do. It's a bit like the I think
Sabertooth. Yeah.
Sabertooth do a similar type of thing. It's like a what's the word? Like a rasp.
That's
Almost.
yeah. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would class that as a rasp more than anything else. It's
All right. Okay.
that's the effect it leaves on the wood.
do you get that kind of rough, scratched?
Yeah. So I'm not showing this off, but there's just so you can see the.
You so should show it off. That's awesome.
Well, I will do in a minute, but I don't know if you can see. There's like very, very fine lines on the actual. No.
Yeah. Let me just present you. Hang on. There you go.
I don't know if you can.
I'm presenting Andy for the people on SoundCloud.
Right, so just for the people on SoundCloud, I don't know if the guys can see it particularly well. It's not that great actually, to be fair. But trust me, there's like burr lines on it.
So you've got the sort of the ripple effect of the. I'm going to say water. It's not water, but it's that sort of like.
Yeah.
But then within that, you've got that extra fine lines of detail as well.
Yeah, it's on the edge of this. It's like it's like a running track. So there's the flat bit.
Getting a lot of compliments over in the chat for that, Andy.
Oh, cool. Thanks, guys. Just knocked it out in the afternoon. No, I didn't really. I can't find the bit now. It'll be hiding somewhere. In fact, it's probably in my Fortiflex, best machine you can get. In fact, it is in there.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Awesome bit of kit. I'd recommend.
So sorry, what is a Fortiflex then? What is that? I thought you were sort of a Dremel type user.
Yeah, the Dremel is the Dremel make Fortiflex. Fortiflex is the machine.
Right. Okay. I thought it was a. Sorry, I'm showing my ignorance here. I actually thought it was the brand.
We have a Bobby Duke here.
Hey,
how you doing?
Hey guys. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
That's all right.
All good.
But I made it. What did I interrupt?
You certainly did. We're actually still on the second question at the moment.
Okay.
We're just saying, what's your favorite material to carve?
Is that what I'm supposed to answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably basswood. Probably basswood. Or I actually really like carving resin. So resin and basswood.
Do you find with the resin that it smells and it's really dusty, and you get covered in the stuff that sticks to you with the static. I always find like turning resin just horrid. I really dislike it.
I don't know. I guess yeah, but no more than wood dust, at least for me. One thing I do know is it does not carve well with like hand tools. You really have to only power carve it, or at least for me, it likes to just chip or like splinter off instead of with power carving. So I guess that's the difference too, is wood is a little more versatile in what you can carve it with. But I don't know. I get covered in sawdust and resin dust. It doesn't seem to blow off of me any different, personally.
It's just one of those things. Material for me, I guess it's a personal thing. Just as you've indicated, just the smell of it really just drives me mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all obnoxious. I get covered in everything.
So Andy, depends
what kind of resin it is on the smell.
Yeah.
Polyester resin smells.
Yeah, that
worse
stinks.
than acrylic resin.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, and that's the kind of thing that I would turn on a lathe, but only small things. But yeah, it's a bit smelly.
Do you usually use polyester resin, or Richard?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't turn a lot of resin, but they tend to be like the hybrid blanks or pen blanks and things like that. So they're not big, but it all comes off in streams, and it's just, I mean, it's not as smelly as like antler or something like that, but it's certainly up there.
Yeah.
So I don't turn much of it because of the smell.
I often find that things like antler, and when you're carving that sort of stuff, or even turning it, because I've made a pen out of antler before, it almost smells like burnt hair.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
And it's there.
And that, I guess that sort of leads me on to, just because I dislike it doesn't mean I don't, and I don't think you should not because you don't like it. It's always worth just not as much, but trying different things. And I guess that goes for anything really. I mean, like Andy with his wood, his chestnut, Bobby with the stones that you carve as well. There's all sorts of materials to pick from. But why carving? What got you guys into carving as opposed to, I don't know, something else? Both of you. The questions to the
Who goes? Go on, Bobby. Since you're a little bit late to the game, you're a question behind.
Okay. The reason I got into carving, well, actually, I like sculpting, say with clay, additive sculpture. It's a lot easier. Wood carving is, in my opinion, or carving in general, is much more difficult. The subtractive method, but I always just was impressed and found it fascinating to take a block of something and remove away. So it kind of came to just my preference in what I liked watching people do, and then started doing it because it was interesting to watch, but also because I like making sculptures more than I like making, like, say, drawing or whatever. But one more thing back to the way things smell is I may actually find out what real hair smells like to carve, because Pat Lapp sent me
Oh no, he hasn't.
Enough said.
Right, I cannot stress this enough. I've actually got a video on my channel of me making a Christmas ornament from Pat Lapp's beard, and even though I was wearing a face shield, a bit just managed to get onto my bottom lip. And
yeah, with some Pat Lapp's
so
beard.
just go that extra protection as well.
That's
and he
funny.
sent me an extra bag of it as well.
Oh, gross. Yeah, mine was just a blank. I still need to do something with it eventually. I got a bunch of little things like that laying around. Not just hair, but
Oh yeah, he sent me a blank and hair.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically that's why I like carving, because I think it's interesting to watch, and it fascinated me when I was younger. And honestly, like I said, I prefer sculpting additive because it's so much easier. But I don't know. I tend to do things that are not easy, or try to.
There you go.
That's
What
fine.
about you, Andy?
A GPS got me into carving again, I suppose, would be the ultimate answer to that.
Fair enough.
Although I did carve before, because I carved Stormbreaker that I took to make as Central last year.
Mm-hmm.
Hand carved that. But I guess I found my niche. When you find what you do, you kind of, it just sort of happens. I think you guys who know me, it's sort of, you'll kind of have seen that, where it's just, I've been messing around doing a bit of blacksmithing, bit of turning, this, that, and the other, and then bang, carving. That's it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were sort of chatting about before we went on air. We were saying all the different things that you've been doing, and I think that's relatable to everybody, not just people that carve, but anyone that does anything, whether it's stamp collecting or drawing or carving or scroll sawing, whatever. Have gone through that sort of journey of discovery, tried this, tried that, tried something else, and then this is what I like doing.
Yeah.
That's I think that probably sums yourself up.
But then there's
there,
something
Yeah.
with university and all that kind of stuff. It's always been there. It's always been a part of it, and it's kind of just a case of me realizing that, come on,
that's
this
what
is what you were meant to do. This is
I'm
what they
getting
were
kind of-
telling you to do.
I'm getting kind of flashbacks here now from when we had you on as a spotlight. Now, because is it a fine arts degree that you've got, or an art history degree, or
Art history, no.
Oh.
Fine art.
It was fine arts. I was right the first. I knew it was something to do with art. So did you do kind of sculpting and things like that in?
No, I should have done. We had when I went, we had the option, like what you do when you do your options at school. You do a couple of months in one department and work your way around, find out what you want to do, and then you focus in on that for your final part of your first year, and then second and third year. I chose to do sculpture and photography and a thing called time-based studies, which is pretty much all encompassing, but like more performance-based art.
Yeah.
The only reason I chose that was because the lecturer was the most interesting out of all of them. They all do a presentation. His presentation of his pieces was an X-ray of his anatomy, and inside his rear end, should we say, there was various implements, one of them being a pair of scissors, which was just, for me, it was like, ouch, but how? And then you went to the hospital and they've gone and x-rayed you to find out what's wrong with you. You know in full well that what's wrong with you.
But presumably this was done more of as an exercise in art rather than an exercise in something else.
But that's what piqued my curiosity. It was just like, how can you? Okay, if you can call that art, I can pretty much wing this the whole of the 3 years I'm here. And yeah,
that's logic.
That's why I chose that one. They were doing live performances back then. Every week we were doing a lot on the internet, and that was 2001, 2002, something like that. It was on the school website that they were sending this out all over the globe, and it was like, "Ooh, it's a new thing." Because back then, come on, computers weren't like what we've got now. But yeah, it was cool. Anyway,
Nice.
Yeah.
We've got a question coming in from the live chat from Dead Rise Woodcraft. One for Bobby here actually, and I can relate to this question because I think every time I speak to you, Bobby, I'm always bigging up Nicole and the fact that she just lets you get away with all this crazy stuff around the house.
And she deserves it as well. She needs
and
bigging up.
absolutely, she does deserve it. Yes,
Yeah.
but the question is, what's it like to be married to such a great artist like Nicole, or presumably Nicole?
What's it like? Well, I mean, I am sure there are parts of it that are like any other marriage. You know, we work at making our relationship better, and I don't know, we both love each other a lot. She is, I don't know, she's just amazing. Like everything about her is almost my favorite part about her. But yeah, she goes into the shed. So we have a shed that I work in about half of it, and then she works in the back half and does her pottery. And we bat ideas back and forth with my projects, and then she'll ask me questions about what maybe she could do next to further, or make her pottery different in ways. So I ask her all the time, questions about what I'm doing, if it's interesting or what she likes about it, and just a constant sort of positive feedback loop that we try to give each other. And it's amazing. She's awesome. I wouldn't be doing this without her. I'll just say that.
I can 100% relate to that. I've a very similar situation with Kat, with her needlecraft, her knitting and crochet, and that sort of question and answer and feeding off each other's kind of ideas for things like that. But it's interesting you put such a positive spin on it, because last time we spoke to Nicole, she said it was a nightmare because you're always leaving the cap off the toothpaste and you always leave the seat up on the toilet. But presumably
I actually don't leave the seat up, or at least anymore. I don't think.
not after the last argument, you don't.
Yeah. No, of course we do things that get on each other's nerves, but
absolutely.
But yeah, she's awesome. She's actually going to be flying back here. She's on her way back from Kansas. She was visiting her family up there.
Yeah, I hate to bring this up, Bobby, but the piece that fell off the pedestal. Have you made plans for that yet, or is it still in the side corner somewhere?
It's still hiding in my closet right now.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things that I definitely want to get started on, but I don't know. There's always another project that I'm wanting to do that so I put it off. I just keep putting it off, And also there is that part of I need to do it justice and make it. Excuse me.
We'll just edit that out. That's fine.
I'm being well edited out. That's staying in there. I'm editing this show.
Sorry, I'm drinking some Dr. Pepper.
All right.
I want to do it justice and make it even better than it was. And so there's a lot of different ways I could go about doing that, or at least I think I can. And I don't know. I just keep putting it off and doing other projects. It's one of those things that I need to make a priority. But yeah, it's going to happen eventually, as soon as I.
Awesome.
Do you find, and actually, this I guess is a question for not just all of us, but all of us listening as well. Do you find that the project that you're working on takes priority over everything else until you come up with the idea for the project after it, and then it starts to sort of dwindle in priority, and because you're now thinking about the next project which excites you, and then you just end up chasing that all the way down the line until forever?
Yeah totally. As soon as I finish a project, it's like it doesn't matter to me anymore. And then the next thing, the process is the drug I'm always chasing. The end, when you get to the end, it's like, I don't know, then it's done, and I push it aside mentally and jump on to the next thing. I think that's pretty common too.
Yeah. Do you find that as well, Andy?
Yeah, it's the artist thing. It's an artist thing, I swear. You kind of, it's like bang, done, next. I've still got 1, 2, 3 projects sat right there while I was carving my latest one. they're now covered in dust, so I'm gonna have to clean them off, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And
Go on, Rich. Go on.
well, there's a question, a really good question actually. I guess that this relates to anyone on YouTube, not just. I mean, he's directed it specifically to you, Bobby, but it's relevant again to everyone. So I'll be interested to see Jamie and Andy's answer to this as well. But is there a project that you've done that you thought was awesome, but that didn't translate into the numbers on YouTube, and it didn't do quite as well as you'd expected?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Happens all the time, you know. Did someone else want to answer first?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did for me as well. Like that Pam Harris one, it took me hours, and even some of them scroll saw ones, it's taken me 30 hours to do, and it's no one gives two beeps about that.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
about you,
totally.
Andy?
The only scroll saw project I do seem to care about is the Bobby Dukes one.
Huh? Say that
The
again?
scroll
I
saw-
heard it
I said the only scroll saw picture I do care about is the one I've done of you.
It's just because of my beautiful face.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what happens often is when I will make a video that I don't think will necessarily be a big deal, and it will be like my most viewed video. That was kind of in a way a filler video because I didn't talk in it, and I just kind of whipped it together, and it was a project that I just didn't think it would, the little knife and from a bolt video. That video, when I put it out, I just was trying to get something out there because I hadn't posted in a while. But other videos, they've taken longer to say, like, I don't know. I like when a video hits 1 million views. I mean, I know everybody likes that, but that's kind of my goal. And if it doesn't, then it kind of, I don't know. I feel like I need to try harder or do better. But some of the videos take way longer to get there. And I'll put like the wings. I did these wooden wings a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that video was a huge pain in the butt. Like it took forever to carve them because I had to do 2. And then I had to like rent out a space, and I had a photographer and videographer involved and like an actual production. And I spent so much time and like, a little bit of money on it, but it was way higher production and that video, didn't get 1 million views for a long time. It sat there for a long time. So that was definitely one of those examples. And then I'll put a video out where I don't think it's going to do that well, and it'll blow up. And I don't even know what I'm doing. It's just kind of what the internet wants that particular day, or what the algorithm's doing that particular day. So yes, that happens all the time.
It's kind of funny for me because when I put out a Tony video, I didn't think it'd do anything, and it straight away just got 10,000 views. And I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
But anyway, back to some questions we've got from Mr. Andy Pugh. He was like, what advice would you give to someone who is just getting started on carving, like tools, materials, projects, that sort of stuff? So, Andy, do you want to take this on first?
Yeah, cool. Personally, don't get a cheap rotary tool. Don't waste your money. It's not worth it. I went through, before I got my Dremel 3000, I went through an absolute I think went for about 5 or 6, and within quick succession. So you're spending like 30, 40 quid a time getting a rotary tool. They're burning out. Bearing in mind, I do carve a lot. So it's obviously getting the use, and the hours are being used. It's being used, properly used. Get yourself a decent multi-tool. That's the only thing I would say. I'm fortunate enough to be sponsored by Dremel, so I mean, I didn't have to pay for my Fortiflex. They gave it to me. So I'm not saying that you'll be as lucky as that, but go for the giveaways.
And I think,
for that kind of stuff. It's worth it.
I think that sort of translates into a lot of, well, anything really. You put a little bit extra money into it, get something a little bit higher end because it's going to get the use, and you'll get the benefit, the return from that rather than the cheapest. I think
I
nine
mean,
times out of ten that works.
a Dremel 3000 with a flexi shaft, they market about 90 quid. You go and get the cheap rotary tools for about 30, 40 quid. Save up the extra week or however long it takes just to get the 3000. It is worth it. You can still get off the market carving bits. You don't have to get the Dremel tool, the official Dremel bits. They won't thank me for saying that, but I mean, they are out on the market. They're free for everybody. You know, use it.
So
you can get of them off Wish for £1. I mean, it's worth it.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, but did you have something like kind of opposite to what Andy was just saying?
Yeah, kind of. I started with a really cheap, it's called a Chicago Electric is the brand, and it's sold by Harbor Freight, which is a company that sells very inexpensive, and they're known for being not necessarily the best quality. They're just really cheap, but I couldn't afford anything nice when I first started. So I just got what I could afford, which was a $55 Chicago Electric rotary carver with a foot pedal and a flex shaft. And I got lucky, or maybe I didn't, because I have two of them and they both still work great. One I literally used for like a decade, like hard used. But then I went and then I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get the really nice, the Fordham, which is like $400 or something. I don't know what that is in quid, but or pounds. Squid. You guys like to use squid. That's very strange.
That'd be like 100 giant acorns.
Giant acorns. Giant acorn. So, anyways, saved it, got that. Actually, Nicole bought it to me for a present. And within like a week, parts were breaking on it. I ended up replacing the same parts now multiple times when I hadn't had anything going. So I think it just kind of depends on the specific one you get. I agree with what you're saying, Andy. Also, I don't know. Like, I agree with both stances, but ultimately,
just
get what you can afford, I think, is the, it's better, I think, to have something that won't break, but if the expensive thing breaks just as much, then whatever. I've never used a Dremel 3000 or whatever. I just haven't. Does that have a flex shaft and a hand piece?
Yep.
Okay. So it's probably very similar to both of the things I use. Yeah. So it's very similar. How do you tighten the chuck, like, or the how do you tighten onto the bits?
So that's got a little mini chuck, like mini Jacobs chuck. You lock it on, and the bit just clamps around the end.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's literally you can finger tight it.
That's cool. Yeah, mine you got to use a key, with the chuck and stuff.
Well, my equivalent to your Fordham is this one. Oh, they're going to kill me.
I can't see. What'd you do, Jamie? Gosh.
Hang on.
No,
I pressed the wrong button.
Like, look at me. Look at me.
I was supposed to press. I was supposed to press that one.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's very similar.
So and the grip to that one. Hold on, let me hook them back.
What kind of RPM does that thing go at, or is it variable?
It's variable. Foot pedal.
Right.
Like your. Okay. And it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, it looks really similar.
Got the Jacobs chuck.
Okay. Yeah.
Chuck.
Right. Yeah, it's almost identical.
Yeah. So it's I think it's the. I don't know where Bosch, I guess. So Germany.
Yeah.
the equivalent.
I will say that I think you should spend money if you're going to buy hand tools. That's where you should definitely, because I started off with like cheap, super cheap Walmart, Michaels or whatever, $5 for a pack of carving tools or something. And those are just more frustrating than anything, trying to keep them sharp. They come out of the box completely dull and whatever. So like if you're going to use hand tools, which I kind of use a combination of rotary power carving and hand carving. I think personally I can do things with hand carving tools like chisels that I can't with a rotary carver, like a nice clean, if you need a corner, real clean, cuts, rotary carver's hard to get a real nice clean edge on something like that. You can with like, I don't know, certain tools, but bits or whatever, but I like having both at my disposal.
And that's kind of the classic, it's a different tool for a different job scenario, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're never going to get a nice, clean, sharp, square corner with a rotating bit, no matter how small it is. It's just
right.
Just the thing. So do you do much hand carving between the two of you? I mean, and when I say, I know you've already said, Bobby, you kind of do a bit of everything, but I'm thinking in my head, I've got a picture of hammer and chisel, like Michelangelo style on a big chunk of wood. Do you do much of that?
Not to start off with, no. With like a piece, I'll typically cut out, like the piece I'm working on now. I can just show like a tiny bit of it. So I'll start off on the bandsaw, cutting out, the profile this way and this way, and then I'll take, say, even the angle the angle grinder with like I forget the name of them, but there's a couple different. Yeah, there's Arbortech and there's another company that sent me some stuff, King Arthur tools, and I'll just do some real rough shaping and just bulk smoothing. That's the thing, is it progresses from things just bulking it to like smaller and smaller until you get down to like hand tools and the actual rotary carver and start putting in more and more details. And then I switch up. Once I get to that step, when it's actually putting in more details and the finer stuff, is when I start switching between the hand tools and the rotary carver. So that's for larger projects. That's for most projects, honestly. If you look back, I use my rotary or my angle grinder a lot, that comes in super handy for like rough shaping. I forget, what was the original question?
What advice would you give for someone that started in on like carving tools, materials, projects, and things like that? Like, for example, what would be your the perfect beginner project, for example?
I don't know. I would say something small. I'll show you one of my first ever carvings, my first ever wood carvings that I never, this was way before YouTube. I think it was an actual, like my very first carvings were like I would carve daggers out of wood because they were easy to like, you not put a notch in and then you carve that out, you put a notch in and you carve that out, and then you've got a narrower bit of wood and a thicker bit of wood, and that's your handle and that's your blade, and then you can start kind of like rounding things over. It was a lot easier. That was an easy first project, and it had a kind of cool outcome. Plus I was a boy and I really liked it and I'd give them to my friends. But let me grab this real quick. This was my first ever piece that wasn't a dagger. Hold on one second.
We've called it
it's a goat. I did this when I was like, I don't even know. Look at how freaky his face is. He's missing a horn.
Looks like he's come out of a Scooby-Doo cartoon.
Yeah, he's missing his horn, and the paints were really sloppy. I think I did this when I was, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11, something like that. I don't know. It was my first ever actual piece, but the ears are glued on. Those were carved separately. The horns were glued on, and I found this pattern in the back of, I don't even remember what kind of magazine it was, but it was some woodworking magazine. They would have these just outline patterns and then like a front view and a side view of little projects, and I just cut out the pattern and drew it around wood. And I'm pretty sure this is made out of 2x4. You know, so that's where I started, was carving pine wood 2x4s, because
So that's how you get scroll saw compound cut patterns. Is you get a side view and a front view.
oh yeah. Well, that's also the way, you know, you want a few, like a top down or a side view or even the front. If you combine all of them, you can rough out a 3-dimensional shape pretty well. You just have to keep the pieces you cut off so you can turn it and then cut the next thing. You know, that way you have a flat surface to turn it around on.
Yeah.
But whatever you can get your hands on, I would say. Well, you know, if you have the money for nicer wood, you know, that's like say basswood is a really common, very versatile carving wood. I think it might also be called lime wood. What do you guys call it in the UK?
Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
lime wood in the UK, isn't it?
Lime wood. Okay, that'd be the same. That's the same type. But if you can't, then get a hold of some free. I mean, wood grows on trees, so you can probably find a stick laying around. You know, that's what I would say. Just start whittling. You know, even like with a little bitty. Got these little whittling knives. That's kind of what I started with. Actually, I started with a pocket knife and then moved up from there. But say whatever you can get your hands on.
Yeah.
Just with you, you're talking about, you know, you start with the bandsaw and then move on to the angle grinder, etc. I don't know if you have much of it in the US, the chainsaw carving competitions with the arborists, and they're really, really popular here in the UK. And I mean, I was sort of thinking more Andy with this. Have you thought about, or have you done, or are you looking to do any kind of like literally chainsaw carving? Because the reason I ask is that's sort of the other end of what you guys both do. It's the rougher, bigger stuff that you then could.
Well, you know, we were talking before about before we came on, my project that I'm doing hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, I'm not going to reveal anything of that, and I'm assuming that you won't either. But
I'm happy to say, it'd be nice if people knew, because then they might actually watch it. So that's a bonus. But I'm going to be carving a full-size stormtrooper. So I've got a 6.5 foot tree trunk at work. I'm going to bring it home.
On the back of your bike, push bike down the road.
Yeah. No,
in his satchel.
It's all right. The beard's going to help me with it, so we'll get that home, and get it all stood up, and then, I'm going to carve it out on the ground, raised up off the ground, obviously, because I'll be using the chainsaw. Rough it out with the chainsaw. Essentially, what we would do with smaller pieces on the bandsaw, but effectively with the chainsaw. And then once I've got off enough mass that it's not too heavy to lift, oik him up, and that'll be when I start attacking it with either the chainsaw to get the head cut out right, the helmets to cut out right rather, and various other details. That's the plan. That's the plan.
That's
cool.
Seriously,
cool.
That sounds awesome.
Speaking of the beard, he asked a question a while ago. He wants to know when the Duke and AH Bespoke are going to do a collab.
Who asked?
The beard.
The beard? The beard. I don't know, man. I don't know. I've got a couple people that are sort of lined up for collabs, so who knows? It may happen.
Last question before we get on to, so we're kind of running out of time pretty rapidly. It's a question from Chris Murray. He wants to know what goes through your head just before you start a big piece.
Who's he asking?
Both of you and Andy.
You go, Andy. Wait, it's weird. It's backwards. It's backwards.
You two.
Okay, you go. You go, Andy.
I hope I don't mess this up.
Yeah.
That's usually how I start a piece.
Yeah.
And then I get 3/4 of the way through, and I'm still thinking, oh, I think I might have messed this up. And then it's only in the last sort of half hour or so that you kind of go, right, yeah, I finished. Job done.
Yeah. I totally know what you mean. There's like a curve that is like uphill and like I don't know what I'm doing, and it's hard to see the piece within the wood or the whatever material. And then it's like all of a sudden it's like it becomes more and more clear as time goes on, and the more closer you get to the end result. But yeah, for me, it's like, I don't know, a big piece. The piece I'm working on right now is it's very, it's probably going to be 2 parts, but it's daunting because, it's going to have a buttload of time invested into it. And if you mess it up, then it's like, what? I don't know. Yeah. For me, it's just every big piece is daunting. Sometimes I'll start a piece and I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. It's no big deal. But, I don't know. Complicated stuff tends to be a little more, scary to start, but just got to do it. You just got to get out there and start it. That's the hard part.
If you never get on with it, you're never going to get to the end of it. That's basically what you're saying. But I mean, how often do you find you're however far into something and you just, that's it, trashed some tiny little piece and that's it, over, start again? I mean, I remember when you were on previously, Bobby, I think you'd just done the pencil
Inception. Yeah.
And I think you said that the video came out and that was actually like the 4th or 5th one because you broke so many going through.
Yeah.
I mean, how often does that actually, realistically happen with a project? You get that far in and it's just toast. Start again.
With big projects, I would just probably glue a piece of wood. Like if you'd say took off or something broke, I would glue it back together and keep going because it's the end product that you're looking for. And if it has an issue somewhere down the line, like the block that I started off with, it wasn't originally one solid block. It was boards laminated up to create a big block. So say I don't know, messed it up, I'd probably glue it back together or glue something back onto it. I usually try to show stuff like that if it happens. Sometimes due to just time in the video and trying to keep it not ridiculously long, I may or may not. It depends on how important it is, but I try to put mistakes or what do they call like problems that arise along the way. But yeah, I wouldn't throw it away. Now with a pencil like that, where you can't just really glue it back together, when you're carving the lead. I don't know, my last video, the hot dog, when I carved the hot dog, I don't know if you guys saw that, but I carve a hot dog into a chain and I eat this chain hot dog. That was actually, I think second or third one, because I kept getting the chain links wrong. And so I had this pile of like hot dog carvings. I don't know, what are they called? Are they called hot dogs in the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're basically making what, mincemeat of, or it'd be pork, wouldn't it? A minced pork pile.
Basically, yeah. My dogs like that because I would throw in the bits to the dogs. Sorry. You go now, Andy.
You gave the dogs to the dogs.
Huh?
You gave the dogs to the dogs.
I did. They were happy.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I'm long-winded. I think it's.
I mean, how often do you get into a project and it basically you get so far into it and it's toast?
Quite a bit, because I do the live carvings. So certainly when I was carving the resin and things like that, accidents happen. Like it's just one of those things. You just have to like accept it and move on, and sort of, if you can fix it, fix it. If you can't, there's quite a few, as I said before about the crow carving, the crow skull. I put that to one side. That's the lesson to be learned. That right there. So I keep that to one side. But yeah.
But I mean, what about in like a, like you say, you're doing a live stream and something happens and you literally, I mean, do you sort of sit there and like, and now what do I do? Have I got to adapt this? Or, I mean, even if, like Bobby was saying, you've got to glue a bit back on, that takes time.
Yeah, but then certainly with resin, with the super glue that we've got now, that takes seconds for it to glue back on. So it's like, oh, sorry guys, like you come back on, have a bit of a chat with the guys while it's gluing on, and then you carry on. If it's something epic like full on shatter, then obviously there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it what it is. The Stargate that I carved, that was cracking as I was carving it. Now you wouldn't be able to tell there's cracks in it now. But it's how you prepare, how you fix and deal with the problem. You know what I mean?
Which I guess is going to be relevant to any form of making with any medium, which actually is really, really good to hear, because I think certainly from my perspective, and I'm guessing there's a lot of people that look at it in a similar vein, is something so potentially daunting, and you guys have already said that these projects sometimes are very daunting right at the start, potentially putting people off. But it's great to hear that you can get so far into something which starts off so daunting, mess it up and still fix it.
You take out sash windows on your Instagram. You've taken out sash windows, like a full-on window out of someone's house. And you're fixing it right there and then in front of people on Instagram, doing it with your resin fit. That's still sculpting. It's just
I guess in a way, absolutely, it is.
I'm not saying I couldn't do that, but I would certainly find it more difficult than what I do to go and fix it. How do I take out a window frame for a start?
Yeah, I mean that's going to be like just like you guys who've done that before. You find your own workarounds, but that's what I mean. It's great to hear that you can get so far into a project which at the start is hugely daunting. Something can happen and it's still fixable. It's not so. It's far more accessible for people, and it's not actually as daunting as potentially you think right at the start, which is kind of cool to hear.
Well, shoot, the piece that shattered into a million bits, that huge, pencil and the bucket and the carving, I'm gonna fix that. If I can fix that, then most anything should be able to be fixed. Although I haven't fixed it yet, so maybe I should fix it first, then I can talk.
Yeah, but you are Bobby Duke.
In itself, it sort of, you could deliberately not have all the pieces there. That would be cool.
Yeah, there's some ideas like having it literally an exploded view, like it's in the middle of explosion, or I don't know, using the gold on all the cracks, kind of to accentuate the broken pieces, like they do with pottery. I forget what it's called, but it's a Asian deal with
I know what you're talking about.
Accentuate the flaws. It tells a story, and they'll put gold along the crack line. There's all kinds of ways that I'm thinking about it. It's gonna be a feature. The fact that it's broken, it's going to be a part of it.
Because that's part of the story of that piece now, isn't it?
Yes, and it's been well documented. Oh man, that sucked. I remember just being like,
I can imagine.
Oh my gosh, did that just happen? The photographer guy who was there, he was just like, I mean, we were both stunned. Like, wait, that didn't actually just happen. Oh man.
Yeah, how long did that actual thing from start to finish take you?
I don't know how long anything that I make takes me. I'm really bad about not documenting that, but I mean a really long time. I mean, just gluing all those pencils together, and the fact that they weren't just random. Like I did them in a sort of pattern.
Yeah, you did a specific pattern.
They're kind of like swirling
Wow.
rainbow colors instead of it just, gluing them up. That took forever because every individual pencil was glued in place individually. And there were like, I don't even know, 30, almost 4,000 of them or something. So they were all, it was a pain in the butt. So,
Wow.
I don't know, man. But, I don't know, in a way, like you said, it's part of the piece now. Like the fact that it broke is, in a way, part of the journey to the end goal. Because it wasn't done, apparently. It wasn't done. I just needed it to break it. Now I'm going to create it, turn it into whatever its final form will be. To get all weird and philosophical.
Yeah.
Arty, yes, exactly. I was thinking that, but somebody said that, and that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Sometimes farty.
Farty.
Giant acorn.
Giant acorn.
Does anyone know? I don't even remember where that started. Where did that start, JP?
So what it was is, as we were walking out your hotel in Canterbury, the chandelier looked like a giant acorn, and you said giant acorn.
You mocked.
I was mocking you, and then you spent all night mocking me, mocking you.
And so every time we see each other or talk, there's a giant acorn always comes up, and it's kind of lost its original meaning because of how long ago that was. But I have two giant acorns at the end of the rail banister for this, because we have 2 stories. And at the end of the rail, like the handrail, we have these 2 acorns that I didn't even realize that they were acorns at first until after I moved in. I remember telling you, JP, it was funny. I have 2 giant acorns in my own house. Anyways, that's a random story.
Yeah, so that's it. So anyway, I guess we've got to come to the end of the show. So it's time for the number 1 segment on over all podcasts, and that's a fact. It's time for Jamie's page.
It's all right for you, Bobby. We have to put up with it every week.
Bobby's the only one that likes it.
It just made me laugh.
This is ringtone.
Yeah. So on the 22nd of this month, Mr. Jacobson and myself have organised a virtual craft festival that's obviously going to be on the YouTubes. We've arranged for 16 makers to go online all day. There's a few little things to be finalised yet before we put out promotional pictures and all that good stuff. So yeah, on the 22nd, there's going to be literally all day. It's going to run from 10 o'clock in the morning UK time till 2 o'clock in the morning the next day UK time. I can't remember what time that is Pacific, but they're 8 hours behind us, so I'm sure you guys aren't stupid, so you can work that out. But yeah, it's on the 22nd. There's 16 people, like I said. Once it all comes out, you'll be able to see who's involved and all that good stuff. It's going to be probably a monthly thing. The names are going to change all the time, so it won't be the same people every month, and that good stuff. So I'm going to do my shout out. So I'll let you guys think about who you want to shout out. So yeah, I'll get with my one. So my shout out goes to a guy called James Garwood. He turned a resin sphere inside of a solid wooden cube. It was absolutely incredible video, and you should definitely go and check it out. James Garwood. Richard or Andy or Bobby?
I'll tell you what. I'll give Bobby and Andy just a few seconds, because I actually, drum roll please, I have got a shout out this week. I'm pretty sure I've shouted this chap out. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure I've shouted him out before, and the channel is called Look Mum No Computer. Absolutely insanely talented guy. This is more a electronics / music / synthesizer sort of channel, but he makes all the synthesizers. It's not just playing them. Very talented musician, but also like electronic audio engineer extraordinaire, and he did. You might have seen the video, the Star Wars theme tune with the Lego droids.
I saw the Furbies one.
So yeah, he did the Furby synthesizer. He's done loads with Game Boys and old computers and old kind of historical computer ones. But he built a synthesizer machine out of Lego the actual Lego set droids. About 4 or 5 different types. There's about 30 of them. He built all the mechanisms and everything so that all these droids play the Star Wars theme tune. If you go onto the channel, the link will be in the description. It's not just the short video of the actual playing; it's how he built it and the story behind it. The guy's just eccentric is a word, but he's such a nice guy. When you meet him in person and talk to him, really nice guy and super talented as well. So that's the channel. Look, Mum, No Computer.
Cool.
Nice. Andy?
Okay, so I'm going to shout out a company, if that's okay. I'm going to shout out.
Mate.
They have been fantastic in supporting me and a whole load of new people this year. Makers, they've been getting bits and pieces, and then making themselves fully available. Any queries, anything like that, they've been fantastic. So I go with Dremel Europe.
Nice. And Mr. Doke? It doesn't matter if you haven't got one.
Well, there's 2 people that just come to mind. One is a channel called I Did a Thing. You guys ever heard that channel? He's Australian, and he just does basically whatever he feels like it. Some days he'll do blacksmithing and make like an axe. Then other days he will, like just do weird experiments. Like, I think he did something with like frogs, random stuff like supersonic ping pong cannons to, it's so eclectic, all the stuff he does. It's very interesting. He's also super funny. So that's nice. One channel. And then also Ross the Random. It used to be Ross the Maker. He's a guy that is really talented who, you may have even seen it. He made a wasp out of like some brass.
Yes,
washers.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's super ingenious and also looks amazing. He's a guy that I've been kind of friends with for a while, and he's like one of those guys that's sort of a sleeper channel where he just like does some really cool projects. But he's had several videos blow up recently, rightfully. They should have. I knew as soon as I saw that, I was like, that is a great idea. I wish I'd thought of that, But those 2 channels, so I Did a Thing and Ross the Random, are the ones that I would say I would shout out for, now. Yeah, good stuff.
And that's what I love about this podcast is there's always people coming on and throwing in things like that I didn't know. I mean, I'd heard of, I think Kat said about somebody making the brass wasp. Hornet.
Yeah,
but when people tell you that, it's like, oh, how do I don't know who it was. It was just something that popped up on something. And
and
about so many cool things.
So many people steal your stuff and post it on their own place, like Instagram, dude. It's so rampant that half the time it'll have a watermark from someone else or 2 watermarks from different people, and then it says they got it from this person, and it gets lost.
And then the one you actually see says, let me know whose it is, and so I can credit them. And you're like, there's 4 different watermarks on there. How do you?
Yeah, or DM for credit. It's like, dude, that pisses me off. I'm just like, no, you DM me to ask if you can use it. I'm gonna use it. If you want credit, just get a hold of me.
Just let me know. Just
douchebags, man. Yeah. Oh, whatever.
Right. I guess it's time to end the show there. We've run a little bit over, but it don't matter. It's me that edits.
Sorry, I was late.
That's fine. We'll let you off this time, Jiki.
Sweet.
So don't forget, everybody. Caitlin, Caitlin the Cat is doing a premiere at 11:15. I'm doing one at 11 o'clock, as always. So until next week, we'll see you later, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Bobby. Thanks for coming on, Andy.
Thank you.
You guys are always welcome, and obviously a big thank you to everyone in the live chat as well. So till next week, we'll see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later, everybody.